Hi, my name's Jude and I'm from Zonta, Townsville Inc. Over the 16 Days of Activism, we're going to be doing a number of interviews with women who are influential within the domestic violence space. And today I'd like to introduce to you Samantha Schulte. She is the founder of the Survivor Service, and we're going to listen to Sam's story today and the wonderful work that they're doing in the DV space. So, hi Sam.
Thank you so much for having us. My name is Samantha Schulte, as you've said, and I am an advocate, an ally, and a victim survivor of domestic, family and sexual violence. And I'm also the CEO and founder of the grassroots charity, the Survivor Service here in Townsville. And so we really appreciate you having us here today. And just before we continue, I do want to acknowledge that we are on the lands of the Bindal and Woolgarukaba people here in Townsville, and pay our deepest respect to the elders past, present and emerging, their ongoing connection to the sea, the waterways, the stars, and that they cared for that land and these parts of the world that we're so blessed to be on today. So thank you so much for having us.
Sam, tell us about you. Who is Sam Schulte? What's your story, and what's your main driver and passion for working in this space?
I think I'm a mother. I am born here. I'm a second generation immigrant, born here on Gurrumbara land, and a member of our community who, like many other people, has had experiences of domestic, family and sexual violence. There's not a lot that's special about me, really, but I have a deep drive and passion to walk alongside victim survivors and people that are impacted by domestic and family violence to hopefully wake up one day and not have to do this work, which, you know, I don't think is realistic at the moment. But as a mother to two sons, I think it's important that their next generation is at least better off than they are at the moment.
Yeah. So can I ask you also to give a little bit about your background and history, and then why that, how that's translated back into the service?
Sure. So in 2018, on Christmas Day 2018, I became a survivor and no longer someone surviving domestic and family violence. And because of the circumstances surrounding my experiences, it became central to a coronial inquest here in Townsville in 2022. And so walking along that journey, not just as a victim survivor, but also being involved in that process and really having insights and seeing the systems and responses, how they work, how they actually really impact us every single day, and then also sharing space with other victim survivors. It really drove me to make things, try and contribute to making things a little bit easier. So from those experiences, I then, had this yearning. I wanted to understand domestic, family and sexual violence. I wanted to understand more about it. And so I then went and studied at university, and I was already working in the community service space that I have been for over 10 years. And I really thought to myself, okay, how can we bring that together, and how can we bring the voices of victim survivors together to make things a little bit easier for them? And so that's how the Survivor Service came about. It was around that, and through over 7 years now of doing lived expertise advocacy in the space and connecting with organisations, doing advocacy at a national and state level, speaking about it and having gentle conversations with people. I think people really, really do want to talk about these things. People don't know how. A lot of people are scared to engage, and just having a connection and genuine connection with people, to be able to hear them and for them to be able to ask questions so that we can build a community that's stronger in knowledge, and embrace that to be able to move forward.
Yeah. And I suppose, with having lived everything and the experience that you have, a lot of the services for women who are looking for support are very disjointed and stuff. And is that one of the things that you're trying to help bring together with the survivor service, or, help people navigate that?
Yeah, so we know from, and not just my experience, but from also connecting with the community and listening to the voices of victim survivors in the community, that it is very, very difficult to navigate and survive the systems and responses that are in place. And it's almost like a full-time job. So if our goal is for a victim survivor to heal, to have better outcomes, particularly when they are parents and caregivers, we need to give them space and ability to be able to do that. A lot of people don't reach that point because there is so many layers that are on top of them in terms of, it's not just that you finish and you're no longer in an abusive relationship or are having experiences of violence. Is that we have these multiple layers of systems and responses that are not really built for victim survivors. And so what happens is you are navigating, housing, stability, you're navigating your health, you are trying to attend to your children, you're trying to attend to ongoing legal matters, family responsibility, cultural commitments, and there is no space for people to reach that point of healing because there's all these other layers upon layers upon layers. And so we experience that it's just not, you're not getting there because it's just always one thing on top of the other. So how can we make that better? And so one of the things about the survivor service is if we can just take a little bit of that load away and support the victim survivor where they're at and what their needs are at that time and do our best to hear them, then that removes a layer and they're one step closer to healing. So when we have all these systems and responses, it's a full-time job navigating that. And what we also know is that when we listen to the community is that my ability to sit here today as someone who has experienced healing and has the ability to be ongoing healing is that it's actually a privilege for you to do that, because we know that sometimes accessible and getting to these resources and supports doesn't also mean available. So what we can see is that people who are having these experiences who face multiple levels of disadvantage or marginalisation in our community are increasingly finding it difficult to get to that point of healing for themselves because they have housing instability. Wait lists are really long to access healthcare, which it includes not just your physical health, but also your psychological and emotional well-being. So people aren't being able to get trauma-informed or care for themselves in terms of psychologist and counselling, which is a need. And if you aren't privileged enough to be in a position to be able to pay for that, then you're not going to get it. And that's another system you have to navigate. So trying to just relieve some of that and do the best we can with the resources that we have, being small, is something that we know that can make a difference. Because the reality is that healing is a privilege, and it's not happening for everyone because we have multiple levels of disadvantage. So women like myself who don't face as many barriers, our ability to heal is a lot broader because we aren't impacted by housing instability, we aren't impacted by justice systems involvement, we aren't impacted by the inability to reach healthcare. You know, we have those for healing, and that's not okay because everyone deserves that. That's their fundamental human right, regardless of who you are.
Yeah. I mean, there's some really wonderful resources out there, and, you know, some amazing services that, you know, with some wonderful people. But, yeah, like you say, if they can't access it due to the circumstances that they're in, it makes it very, very hard for them to ever move forward.
We can't continue to replicate systems and responses that just serve the most privileged of us. So we really need to recognise that even though as victim survivors, we've all experienced a fundamental invasion of our human rights, we still need to acknowledge that privilege exists within that of how you access and navigate services and responses. And we cannot deny that. It is at all levels and in all levels of systems and responses within our community.
Yeah. So all of that being the case, and you've created the Survivor Service to try and fulfil at least a portion of that need. Yeah. Tell me more about the Survivor Service, about everything that you guys are doing.
Well, the Survivor Service, you know, it didn't just wake up one day and go, oh, I'm going to find an organisation that supports people impacted by domestic, family and sexual violence. It was a long time of working in the space, in the community sector in Townsville. It was having the privilege of holding space with other victim survivors and hearing them and listening to their experiences. And so I was very blessed to meet the two other directors, which sit on our board, Nicole Prudames and Talia Isaacs. And we came together and we knew that it needed to be, it was a vision of needing to be accessible, and everything that we do is seen primarily through a lens of lived expertise. And so lived expertise isn't just our lived experience, because all of us, so many of us have experiences or lived experience of domestic, family and sexual violence. We know that's the case because of the statistics. But what we do is we see primarily through that lens first and foremost. So when we build everything and what we do, that is our primary, through our learnings, that's our primary vision, our lens of what we see things. And then to that, we add practice, frameworks. And so we're able to build something that is hopefully as accessible as possible. And we are very blessed to walk alongside victim survivors in the community post-separation for their holistic journey of healing. And that's at their pace. And that's an honour to share space with them and for them to choose us. And it will never, ever cease to be an honour. We also engage with members of the community. We are parts of the community. Yeah. We want to hear so that we can be realistic, and we're there and we know that the issues, and we're speaking to people. You know, you can read everything and know everything. We know the statistics, we know the theories, we know the drivers, but we need to be in the community speaking to people, and that people are approachable and want to come in to chat to us and be like, hey, can we talk about this? And so we can also hear what it looks like, because for them. So we do training, do a lot of public speaking and advocacy, and we also work in the prevention space around talking to young people. We're very blessed to be able to do that, to talk to all members of our community. And then we also have community-led responses like our DV Safe Space, where we're very blessed to have organisations coming on board and speaking to us about providing safe spaces in the community where victim survivors can go and know that they're safe. So it's realistic, it's listening, and it's everything we do through the lens of lived expertise, which is our learnings coupled with our professional experience and understanding of what we know as gendered violence.
Yeah. I just think it's amazing what you're doing. It really and truly is. One of the ladies who is in our community organisation, she has been on the board at Sarah's for many years, and when I spoke to her about it, she said there's just not enough avenues for people like this, and she said there needs to be so much more, you know, so I think it's really, really awesome. And I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today about this, because I think everybody needs to know that there is a service there who, you know, all the directors have lived experience, as Sam has said. They have built a space which is there to help people, and people feel welcome coming into it. But also for those who want to know maybe how to help and what they can do, they can come here as well and have a chat and see what they can do from there. So
it's going to take all of us, like all of the community, to do this together and have gentle conversations with each other, and that's how we're going to build a safer community for everyone. So we welcome the opportunity.
And I sort of closed that a little bit prematurely. So how do you see it now versus where do you want to see it, and can you see it moving towards that space?
Yeah, absolutely. The feedback and the need for our service has been undeniable, and we can't deny the fact we have really high rates of domestic family and sexual violence here in Townsville. So there can never be enough services for victim survivors. We do see it growing. We know that there's a need, and we hope to be able to grow a service where at the moment we're small, humble, and with the community support we can continue to be able to put more resources into being able to deliver the on the ground services, the healing support to victim survivors. But I guess the end goal is to do ourselves out of a job.
Yeah. And can you see that happening? Can you see a future for that? It's a really hard question to answer.
I think we need to be realistic, and I think we need to be realistic and know that this isn't going away anytime soon. And that's the urgency of our work, and that our next generation, so my children, your children, they are the gift. They're going to be the ones to make the change, the huge change. And how we can speak with them and engage them, that's going to be the game changer. And so I hope that, you know, the survivor service, it doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to the directors. We're just custodians. The survivor service belongs to the community and to victim survivors in the community. And I hope one day when I'm sitting back and I'm seeing the other voices of victim survivors and advocates coming through with lived experience and lived expertise, I hope that I can say that we have more diverse voices. We are hearing the voices of the people who are often silenced, and that the survivor service can be a channel to be able to lift their voices up, but that we're going to be seeing a real drop in the experiences, and that we can engage with our young people to do that, because they're our future. They're where it's at, you know.
Yes. So if people would like to have you speak, or if they would like to ask more questions, or find out more about what you do, they just head to thesurvivorservice.com.au.
Yeah, so you can like us and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You can also head to our website, which is www.thesurvivorservice.com.au. You can have a look through our page there. You can have a look at the reviews and some of the speaking events that I've been blessed to be able to share space with people and have conversations and reach out. We have a form on our website. It's about being easy and accessible, so please reach out. You can email, you can give us a call. We would love to hear from you and work together to be able to build a safer community in Townsville where we can see as many people as possible living a life free from domestic, family and sexual violence.
It's amazing. Thank you very much, Sam, for your time. And I just hope your good work continues.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Zonta.